city planners here, Michelle Miro, and also Director of Board of Health. So this paper was started in the Board of Health on the recommendation of Mr. Chris Webb to look at all types of tobacco-related products as well as alcohol. They are controlled by separate committees, so tobacco is regulated by the Board of Health, and liquor is controlled by the Liquor Board, and that's actually controlled by the state. We have really no say in that license, but it was just a thought process to put them all together. This paper was originally brought to ordinance. It was sent to a joint ordinance and public hearing meeting. We met June 14th, I believe. Can you read the recommendation from the planning board?
This is on 225.
This is on the adult specialty retail sales, yes.
So a majority of the planning board voted to recommend approval of the amendments as submitted and with revisions, which you have a copy of. That's in the June 15th letter.
Yeah, can I see that for a second? Oh, is it?
Just a point of information, it was a 5-4 vote, so it was a split vote.
Was a majority, which is what carries the motion, so that's what's relevant. You want a copy of the recommendation?
Yeah, because I believe they wanted to split up the zoning, right? They didn't want to take everything at once. I apologize.
No, you want to read it out loud?
Yeah, I will read it out loud for the record. So this is from this is from the planning board, and it is the recommendation. Excuse me one second. The recommendation is on June 14, 2007. The planning board and city council joint held a public hearing about the revised proposed amendments. As a result of the public hearing, the majority of the planning board, namely 5 of the 9 members present, voted to recommend approval of the amendments as submitted and with the following revisions. Amended that the proposed use regulation by adding the following provision, 300-12-2, for adult specialty retail sales, a special permit granting authority shall be the city council. And number 2, the amend the proposed definition by adding the following provisions, which is 800-6-2-40. As used herein, marijuana is for recreational use only, not marijuana that is medically prescribed or regulated by ordinance under medical marijuana treatment center. So that footnote there, we've already zoned for that. There's already an area of the city that is allowed. And then the second bullet point, any specialty retail use where principal or accessory shall require a special permit. No adult specialty retail sales shall be located within 500 feet of the property line of a property used for residential use, public or non-profit school, park, playground, daycare, religious facility, or any other facility where children commonly congregate. Next bullet point, consumption of marijuana is prohibited within 500 feet of a property used for adult, specialty retail sales where marijuana is sold. Special permit will be required. It is non-transferable, non-assignable. The lawful use of land or structures existing as lawful begin to the first public notification of the public hearing. The ordinance for retail sales, alcohol, nicotine, tobacco products shall be continued, but may be extended to include retail sales of marijuana. There is no variance for this provision. And for adult specialty retail sales, use of the property where marijuana is sold, only marijuana, and marijuana accessories can be sold, and no other product of its kind can be sold. So a couple things, and then I will open up. I do have the city planner here. I believe the chairman of planning is here as well. And again, Mr. Webb from that, if they want to speak, I'd entertain that as well. So a couple things have transpired. From my perspective from the ordinance, the hope is that we create an ordinance that we did medical marijuana. I think we all agree that, well, at least I agree, from my position, we create that ordinance. There is some debate of how do we do it. Is it too restrictive, which I completely understand. I've talked to the attorney at the House of Representatives. There's a lot of good information going on there. Some communities now are adding provisions to say there's no drive-through. I know it sounds foolish, but some towns have already said that they've gotten requests for drive-through, as well as within 500 feet of any type of rehab center, whether it be alcohol or drugs, which I think would be a real kick in the pants for us to do something like that. And then the normal schools, daycare, whatever. So a couple things have happened. The board, the House of Representatives raised the tax at the 28%, gave the local authorities the ability to say no. They also gave between 3 and 5% to the local cities and towns. That would be this tax. Footnote, I know edibles are included in there, but I asked that attorney, and he didn't give me an answer yet. If it's edible, if it's a prepared food, do we get meals tax? He said it was a very good question. He didn't know. So that 28% would be the total state tax. That would include our 5, whatever the state take is, et cetera. So it's not 28% plus the local, okay? The Senate voted on that, their version has taken it down to 12%. I talked to Representative Donato today that the local option could be as low as 2% now. There was a bulletin that came out that both Representative Latrino and Paul Donato sent me during the meeting, that there is talk right now between the 28 and the 12, that the Senate, because it goes into committee right now, and once it goes to committee, there is no more public debate. I don't know all the House rules, I'm just giving you where we are. And there is some, the Senate President might budge and actually go more towards the 12 than more to the 28. And Rep. Latrino sent me a text saying that 5 is probably not gonna happen. The local level will probably come down to 3, okay? What this board has to do, we're not debating about the tax implications, what we're gonna debate about is where we put the zoning. I believe, and I will, Council O'Malley at one point said maybe up near the Route 1 area, which I think was a great idea. The problem is there are some residential areas up there, there is a church up there, so we'd have to do some measuring and probably create a new overlay district or a new zoning requirement there. Because there's a church right across, I drove that, there's a Christian church right across the street on Route 1, which was probably within 500 feet. So we'd have to do some of that. Also, this is in relationship to the second paper with the moratorium, just to give you some update. No applications can be taken at the state level for recreational marijuana until the Cannabis Control Committee or Commission has been established. That will not probably be established, again, this is Paul Donato, it's not official, it's just from the House, probably no earlier than the end of October. And that's when, once they have that commission, then they can start taking applications. And then from there, they would have to go through their screening process, and nothing will be allowed or voted on from that perspective until July. And then our ordinances would have to come into play. So if there's an application that's approved, then we'd have to put our zoning in there. And a couple councils sent me some emails as far as, and it's very common. I think Wilmington has it, I think Tewksbury has it, standalone facilities, adequate parking, they separate the amount of retail space versus growing space. So there's a lot of good ideas out there in terms of how to do this. We all have to agree on it. So that's where we are right now. I will get off the soapbox now. So that's the facts where we are. The plan is to get something out of this committee at one point, to the full council for a vote to establish that zoning. Any questions on procedure?
No.
Okay, so any questions? Council King.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
And excuse me one second, if I forgot anything,
On the 500 feet,
Yeah.
500 feet, what was it originally?
I think it was 1,000.
Was it 1,000?
We had a placeholder of 500, I don't remember it being 1,000.
They changed it to 500.
Yeah, the state just changed it to 500. I think at one point we had
Ours
it.
was 500.
Yeah, ours was 500. Originally, I think the original, not for this paper, at one point was talking 1,000, and it was too big.
Medical marijuana.
Yeah, marijuana.
And so on, that was their addition though, right?
The state?
No, the planning board.
Yes,
Yes,
that was
yes.
part of the planning, but your original paper did not have the distance.
Okay, so it's 500 feet,
Correct.
and it's 500 feet from what?
Yeah, I'll read this again, because this is where it gets probably, it becomes very tough to do. So it's 500 feet of a property line of a property used for residential use, which, that's pretty vague. Public or nonprofit schools, or a park or playground, daycare, religious facility, or any facility in which children commonly congregate, again, that's vague. And that's what's there now. I would probably want to add the rehab centers.
Substance abuse treatment center is
Yeah.
what we call it in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, I would want to do that, and then we have to define, because I think this residential use is going to be very tough to,
Okay, so,
go ahead, you still have the floor.
no, I'd
Oh.
just like to make a motion, what do we call them now, substance abuse?
I'm sorry?
Substance Abuse Treatment Center.
Yeah, I'd like to amend it to include substance.
To include that?
So that,
Yeah.
that bullet to include that?
Yeah, for that bullet, to include that, because I think that's,
Yeah, I think
Come
that's reasonable. I don't think that's anything. So, any discussion on that?
Well, yeah, actually.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So I'm not a specialist on this, but I think we do have specialists in the room who could probably educate us a bit on this. But I do believe that the current parameters for the adult specialty zone is overly restrictive to the point where no parcel in the city would be able to operate any business like this. I do think that that is in violation of state law.
Yeah, but hold on.
Well, aren't we just talking about,
No, I know,
May I mention
but
first?
you're adding more restrictions, so I'm just addressing the current restrictions and the fact that you wanna address more restrictions. I would recommend that we stick to what the state law says, and if someone in the audience knows what the state law currently says, because it's changing every other day, I believe it's 500 feet from schools,
Correct.
period. And I think that's reasonable. I think to put every other property type makes it completely unreasonable for anyone to actually operate a business, and it will open us up to litigation. We don't have enough money to keep going to court. We clearly lose our court cases whenever we go. So I think that it would make sense that we pass a reasonable,
Point of
Hold on,
information,
can
we
you-
haven't
wait,
been
hold
sued once on any of those conditions.
Hold on.
Not
You
once,
can't-
Brian.
hold on.
And he's representing the Revolutionary.
Let's, I agree with you that it's restrictive, right, but I'm not gonna sit here for a half hour, listen to this, be
no,
honest.
no, I'm just thinking, so I would vote
It is,
against that.
it would, honestly, it is.
It is restrictive.
I am agreeing with you with the residential, but for you to say, by not putting in substance abuse treatment
Oh, no,
center.
I'm not
Well, that's
saying,
what we're talking about, and I agree with the residents, Councilman Elliott. All I wanted, you're telling me it's too restrictive. I agree with you. I wanna move past that.
so I think we should.
But you just said, let's put it near where there's no, where there's
I was
kids.
not saying that. What I'm saying is, it is already overly restrictive.
I agree with you.
And we are talking about adding more restrictions to a zoning amendment that is, I understand that completely. I'm not against this particular topic. I'm saying that overall, what we're passing is overly restrictive to the point where all the little circles overlap each other and there's no parcel in the city that is
Point
about.
of information, Mr. Councilman. We're not passing anything.
All right,
I'm not passing anything. In fact, I agree with your original statement of Route 1.
yeah.
I completely agree with you.
So,
And that's within 500 feet of a residence.
so I'll let you guys continue this discussion.
No, my question is, do you have discussion, do you agree with the substance abuse? Then we'll define, I agree with
I'll
that.
let you
amendment on
guys continue
substance
discussion.
abuse, that's all.
Okay, so
You
you,
guys can continue your discussion.
we're gonna take a vote. Now, we're adding
I
this
don't
now.
have a second.
Yeah,
Okay, does anybody want a second on substance abuse?
I want the floor on the
Oh, okay, but there's a motion now.
Oh, no, I'm not seconding anything.
Okay, so you don't wanna add anything about substance abuse?
I actually have a whole other way that I wanna go down with this, so can we just hold off?
All right, discussion, go ahead,
Is
Councilman.
that okay? Do you mind? Okay. So, we're here tonight to zone.
Yep.
We're here tonight to zone recreational marijuana in Malden. So can someone, whoever wants to help answer some questions? So we have medical marijuana in Malden, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, what is the zone for that? Maybe if Director Webb could.
I'll let Michelle answer
Okay.
that.
Medical marijuana treatment centers are allowed by special permit in industrial 1 and industrial 2 zoning districts.
Okay. Okay. So,
And there's a definition for what a medical marijuana treatment center is
Okay.
as well.
so
There are
that's
parking
mostly
requirements,
Ward
things
1,
like
is that correct?
No.
No,
No, Ward 3's got a
I
significant
wouldn't say
section.
that.
Well, I'd vote for it.
Okay. Okay, so I've been thinking a lot about this, and so I actually asked our city person, Steve Fama, how many liquor stores we have in Malden, so just let me finish. So we have 19, so we have 19 facilities that actually sell liquor, but there are 10 liquor stores throughout the city that are specific liquor stores. So,
Can you explain that to me?
yep, that just strictly sell liquor, like Pumpsies, okay, so there's specific, versus
Stop and Shop.
Sunnyhurst,
Stop and shop.
Stop and Shop, so,
But, can I finish? Hold on. One is beer and wine, and one is full liquor, so there's a difference.
And if I could add, I did produce that list at the
Yes,
public
you did.
hearing.
Yep.
And this came from the license board, so these are all the
Right.
facilities that are licensed to sell beer and wine or all alcoholic beverages.
Or
So I have
other
the addresses
items.
and the names, but.
so, I mean, I'm just,
Maps are very helpful to understand what we're actually talking
thank
about.
you, so, I mean, if you take a minute to look at it, it really is citywide, these locations now. You know, it's just an option for this committee to discuss, but rather than, and I hate to say spot zone or create an ordinance that specifies maybe Ward 8 or specifies maybe industrial 1 and 2, only, so all of these, Michelle, are in industrial 1 and 2 that are mapped out, is that correct?
No, that's absolutely not
Okay.
correct. The list that I gave you.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was
Had all the
sorry.
addresses in it citywide.
Sorry, so, I mean, I just think that it, you know, it's the elephant in the room, it's scary to talk about, it's scary to know it's coming to Malden. For some of us old people, maybe not the young people, it's a little scary, but we have to do what's right for the community. So, my first question is, and is the city solicitor here? No? Is
She
she
was here, she was here.
Yeah, she was here during the council meeting.
Okay, so my first question is, can we think about maybe identifying, offering 2 permits, 2 businesses to sell this? Have, you know, say, hey, Malden would like to offer this to 2 businesses and have the permit cost X amount, $5,000.
Time out, Council DeMaria, hold on,
Yeah.
we're getting, wait, we can't talk about the requirements of a permit until we know where you're gonna put it. And I don't even know if we
I
do that.
understand, but rather than zoning.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Sorry, what's the question?
Right.
So would we put
She wants
those,
to limit the number of licenses?
No, that's
Exactly,
fine.
and rather than zoning, going down that, where we're gonna zone, what are we gonna do?
You can, I mean, I'm not the city solicitor, but you can, this was the ballot question.
The CAC.
It states, the proposed law would authorize cities and towns to adopt reasonable restrictions on the time, place, and manner of operating marijuana businesses, and to limit the number of marijuana
Wonderful.
establishments in their communities,
Wonderful.
which I believe goes to Counselor's question with the moratorium. That was specifically stated in his moratorium paper, which we're gonna get to, asking about the number and location of establishments. We're dealing with location of
Right.
establishments.
So that's my first kind of thought. My second is, since we have locations specific to selling liquor, whether it's beer and wine or full, there's 10 of them. That would be my other thought, is to, rather than standalone, that I think I heard, you know, maybe offer that, recreational marijuana to be somehow, included in liquor stores.
can't, state doesn't allow it. State does not
They
allow
are
it.
standalone establishment.
They cannot,
have to
they
be
cannot be
standalone.
sold with alcohol beverages.
Okay,
The medical marijuana and retail
Or both laws, I mean,
Or recreational,
both
sorry.
versions.
may, depending on what version is finally adopted, may be allowed in one location.
But not with liquor.
Hopefully that'll be the
They
case.
all say no.
so it's still pending?
Right, not-
Is that right?
Not with liquor.
It's still a pending, or is that
Yes.
it's
No.
still pending?
Senate
Okay.
version has not been.
Okay, so those were my actual thoughts on this whole zoning thing, so I throw that down. Give up the
You can't
floor.
co-locate them.
You can't do it together.
You can't co-locate.
The state,
The
both,
state says no.
both state papers are very explicit saying that they cannot have any other use. Medical marijuana, what he's referring to, might be part of another use, but
Would be-
recreational marijuana has to be alone.
There's,
And-
the final isn't done yet, but they're saying that medical marijuana and recreational marijuana would be, could be commingled in one establishment,
Okay,
possibly,
okay,
but
Right,
not definitely,
but not alcohol.
not alcohol.
okay, so,
All food.
may I ask, how many do we have in Malden right now, medical?
None.
None at this point.
No.
Okay.
And if I could just add one point, one of the planning board recommendations was that for adult specialty retail sales, use of property where marijuana is sold, only marijuana and marijuana accessories may be sold and no other product of any kind may be sold. Part of the planning board recommendation was that if you are selling marijuana and this is recreational, it will only be recreational
Okay.
marijuana.
Yeah.
So that goes
that's an
along that
overflow.
same line of it's not going to be sold with other products.
Okay, so,
So nice choice, council.
yeah.
No, the idea.
No, the idea, I get the
It's a
idea.
thought process
You
that-
can't do it, though.
Yeah, and if you do a little, if you look to even Colorado, which I think was, well, Colorado, Washington State, they both have recreation, they passed it first. All of them have basically some verbiage, depending on the town and location, I looked them all. Most of them are saying standalone, and they do separate retail sales between the manufacturing and growing of them, but they all say they can't cohabitate with any other use because they want to be able to control, because I think you gotta be 21 in some facilities. They don't want to say, well, what are they coming in for, are they sharing this? So a lot of them, that's where the standalone came from.
Right.
In a lot of cities and towns, that they have their own structure, so they, and then they put security requirements on them. That's part of the whole application process.
So just one
Yep,
last
go
thing.
ahead. Yep.
So we can limit how many we put
According-
versus zone,
Yes,
or
Yes.
does that have to be done?
you can do both.
You can
Okay.
limit the number of
We
licenses.
can limit,
And the time, place, and manner, so time, place, you can limit the locations, that's what you're trying to do
okay,
now.
right,
Regulate, I shouldn't say limit, place reasonable restrictions.
okay.
And that's to Council Mallory's point, where I agree, the residential piece in here might be tough for anybody to overcome.
Absolutely.
And that's why I
And
completely
I
agree.
agree with that too.
So we have to change, I think everybody agrees, like churches, place where kids, I can't say where kids congregate, because that's a tough one, but churches,
Really?
school, well, house
So
will be
you're gonna
congregate.
let them put it next to the park?
I think you
No,
have to be
no, no.
specific and say.
I'm saying you can't say where they congregate, because technically they congregate right here. But I think substantive use to me is a no-brainer. We would be a complete, it's like putting an AA building next to a liquor store. I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Well, is there any space left
Oh, there's plenty of space. I mean, we gotta change the residential piece.
with all these restrictions?
What restrictions are we talking about,
Oh,
Council?
schools, daycare, religion, rehab centers, substance
She's
abuse.
asking if you've zoned it out
If we
of the
zoned
city
it
by
with
putting so
that,
many
is there
requirements in.
anything
No,
left?
I agree with you, but it all depends. Are you gonna say 1,000 feet, 500, or 350?
The other thing is the fact that the current law, and I believe the proposed law is gonna allow, or at least the proposed law is gonna allow, or requires the operation to come into an agreement with the city. So we have an opportunity to put these restrictions in. Doing it on the front end like this is only opening us to lawsuits. I really think that if we mimic what the law says, 500 feet from schools,
What law?
There is no law.
There is no law.
there's a law right now.
No, there is not.
Yes, there is.
No, there is not.
Yes, there is. The law was passed by on the ballot.
Council
There is a
Mallory.
law.
And that's not
Council
right
Mallory.
here, and it's not in here, it
That
says
is
nothing
not the
about
law.
500
I've talked to
feet.
the House of
This is
Representatives,
what
they said there is no law.
This
Well,
was the
there is a
ballot
law.
question.
We passed a law on the ballot.
But there's no zoning laws. That's what I'm trying
No,
to.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is we could, the proposed law, I believe.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
The
But
legislature postponed
Exactly.
any implementation of
Right.
the law while it gets
There is
debated.
But there's no restrictions.
500 feet from schools.
But, exactly, but they also give the town the ability to change
It
it.
also allows the town to enter into an agreement with the operation
Correct.
prior to opening. Like I said, I would make a motion that, actually, point of parliamentary procedure. The planning board has provided us a recommendation. What are our options? We can reject the recommendation, we can
Amend.
accept the recommendation, we can amend it,
Yep. All those,
and then we decide to report out from this committee
to the full council.
with the amendments made at the planning board and.
Whether yes or no, or no, you don't have to send it with any recommendation.
Okay,
But the thing that has to be clarified in this committee, and again, I say this because, and I'm saying it because, this is under retail sales right now. So this can go anywhere there's retail sales.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. So that means no parking requirements, that means near a school, that means near a daycare, and there's nothing we can do about it. So the comment of, let's wait till they come here, we would lose in court every day of the week. And we've done this with the reason why we did it with drive-throughs, because as a council, they were putting drive-throughs in, and people saying, how do you allow this? Because it's part of retail sales. That's why you have to carve out of general retail sales what you want. You might not wanna put any restrictions, you might wanna put one parking spot, but we have to create this.
I understand.
Yeah.
I would say that I would make a motion that we reject the planning board's recommendation, considering it was a 5-4 vote, it was split, and instead we amend the base paper to include 500 feet from schools and, what are we calling them? What was that thing we just?
Substance abuse
centers.
centers.
So in every zone, every area?
No, it's in the base paper that we have. So we sent a paper to them, they provided feedback. I'm saying we reject the feedback, consider it was a split vote, and we take the base paper that we had here, that was sent to us, and we add 500 feet from schools and substance abuse facilities, which I believe would be reasonable. I don't think it would be overly restrictive, but if we say residential property, X, Y, and Z, everything under the sun, we're opening ourselves up to a lawsuit. And we have people in the audience who are specialists in this, and lawyers.
Okay.
Yep.
You taking public testimony, that was at the hearing, right?
It's just actually knowing who's in the audience. It's called community.
Could I ask, so you would allow them to be transferable and assignable? And you'd
Council
allow them
Mallory?
to go pre-existing non-conforming where there are already existing facilities? you know.
So they can assign it, they can assign it with no problem?
Well, I'm not a dictator, it's the committee that decides.
No, you just actually made a motion, Counselor, to reject the paper, the amendments from the planning board, and that's what the changes are.
And also that the special permit granting authority be the city council, that was the
So
main
who's that
first
all
recommendation.
Because you're telling us all this stuff, but make a suggestion, because everything in this paper, okay, so who's gonna be the granting authority?
I believe it's the planning board.
Okay, you want the planning board to be the granting authority?
Are you granting authority for?
No, if you read the paper, it's the city council.
No, they amended the paper.
And
We're
you-
recommending it be
And you
the
just-
The original paper said the planning board, I'm not.
You're rejecting it.
We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
You
So
just
we're-
said it.
We're talking about.
I'll second
base paper.
Councilor Kennan's motion.
Hold on, oh wait, he's got it first?
Yeah, Councilor Kennan made a motion to include, I'm sorry,
Within
substance
500 feet of
abuse
substance abuse
treatment center.
centers.
To get back on
How
track.
far are we there? And he's got a motion, we gotta hear his motion.
No, no one seconded it.
Oh, well, I didn't ask for a second, so I wanna get due process. So we have this motion first. How far?
What's that?
I don't think he's changing the distance.
I didn't change the distance.
Is it 500 feet?
500.
Yeah, 500 feet.
Substance abuse?
He's adding that in.
I just wanna
so that
hear
it-
all the things so far. Substance abuse.
It says, no, we want me to read it.
Churches.
Yeah. No adult specialty
House
retail
worship.
sale shall be located within 500 feet of the property line of a property used for residential use, which is defined in the ordinance. I know people said it was vague, but it's defined. Public or nonprofit school, park or playground, daycare, religious facility, or any facility in which children commonly
Yeah, that's-
congregate. And then you would add substance abuse treatment center. That's what your amendment was.
Yeah. No, let's,
Well, we can take the other ones off.
no.
I don't, I think residence is tough.
Well, I wanna tell you,
Yeah.
when you say residence,
Yes.
they can't go into residence A, can they?
It's residential, when this says residential use, it means residential use as defined in the ordinance. Single-family dwelling, two-family dwelling, three-family, four-family, town or row,
That's everything.
multifamily.
That's everything.
group
No, I'm saying, when
dwellings.
we
Right.
say, but can they, if we take that out, can they plop one of these down into residence A?
Still has to be rated.
This is a property used for residential
Why don't
dwelling,
we
so
exclude it
if,
from residential?
if in the industrial zoning district,
Yeah.
there's a house, it could not be located within 500 feet of that dwelling.
So,
It's a
so give
property
example.
used for
The
residential.
issue there is, this is why I agree with Councilman Malley, if you look at Commercial Street, those condos in Medford are probably within 500 feet of something.
Yeah, no,
That's the issue with that one,
I get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Look,
South Cove is building a medical facility, I mean. So you gotta get restricted there, I mean, you gotta be, and again, I'll go back, I think Councilman Malley had the right point when he said Route 1, you still got some, you got housing up there
Hold
too.
on. Right now, all we're doing is trying to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
We can always come back, we're gonna rezone, one of the question, gonna rezone anyways, hopefully, right?
Yep.
Right now, you're just trying to protect yourself. You know, does it have to be 500 feet from a resident? I don't think so, but should it be something from a resident? We have all I'll go to one too, right? How many people are gonna be close by to something that's gonna be dropped into Ward 2?
There's no industrial one or two on
This
Highland.
isn't just industrial one.
This is,
It's industrial 1 or 2, and again, it doesn't, it's within 500 feet
Yeah, I get
of
that.
these uses, so the use doesn't have to be an industrial 1 or 2, although it could be in. But you're correct, because where the boundary line is, it does include parts of 1. There are industrial zones in Ward 2,
Yeah,
and that could potentially abut a residential.
yeah.
It's not
And
in the
that's why-
industrial zone.
And that's why I'm
That's right.
saying,
That's why you
I
put
think
that in.
there's some footage that we ought to do to protect those people. And it doesn't rule out every area, but certainly,
I mean, Cuticura Building's another example, that's a multifamily residential use. It's not in the industrial zoning district, but it's within so many feet of the industrial zoning district. So that could potentially be a property you might wanna protect, the people that live in Cuticura.
can you say senior facility?
what are we protecting them from? I forgot.
Well, you said multifamily, this is just as residential use, so it could be any residential. We don't have a separate category for senior housing,
All right, so there's a motion on the floor.
I'd rather be too restrictive and then come back and revisit it.
Well, we're probably not gonna take, well, let me just first vote on this motion, then we'll see if Council Malley in a second. So there's a motion to add substance abuse, right, to that
Yeah,
list?
yeah.
And it's 500 feet, is that what we're gonna say?
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second this motion.
Council Malley, seconds, all in favor? All
Aye.
opposed?
On.
You opposed?
Yeah.
Council
I
Malley?
didn't say anything.
Well,
You'll go with the yes
Okay,
category.
Okay,
yes.
You vote with the majority. You vote with the majority, that's council rules.
That's how it gets
Am I-
resolved.
Am I complaining?
No, I don't know why you wouldn't say you take a vote. Council Malley, you have a motion now? Anybody want a second, Council Malley?
What was that motion?
That was to 500 feet of only schools.
Schools and substance
But that was to get rid of the whole
To reject
To
the whole
reject-
planning
yeah,
board
to reject it.
recommendation.
planning board.
Recommendation. Second? No second, motion fails. Okay. So,
Make a motion to remove residential zones from the restrictions.
okay, so there's a motion by
This is
Council.
only in this is only in industrial 1 and 2. This is not happening on Island Ave. This is only is industrial 1 and 2, so I'm asking to remove the residential portion of this, which I believe makes it completely unrestricted.
Okay. So you got that motion?
I heard his motion, I just
Councilman
wanna comment and discuss. Part of industrial, is it 1 or 2, is on Washington Street, which
Yes.
straddles 4
That's
and 3,
industrial one.
actually, woods 3 and 4. That residential, safety zone, actually excludes it from that portion, that residential area. You take that out, and suddenly you could have those shops.
Right next to the house.
Right, and I think you'd wanna talk to your constituents about this, just as I would, before you make such a motion to do this.
I guess my point was,
You could
you can easily identify where it's not possible with that logic, but I've asked the city planner to provide a map of where it is possible under current zoning, because I know the first thing that's gonna be said is, it changes all the time, but what parcels in the city would be possible to operate a business like this under current use? I've asked that for
Retail
months
sales?
now.
Retail sales?
No, as proposed, as this is proposed.
With parking requirements?
With all the parking requirements of the planning board, where would this be possible? No, you never just took the medical marijuana zoning, and we said, where can they operate?
Industrial.
That's not something that has been produced or can be produced by the city planner, I've asked you multiple times.
I don't produce maps, I said that publicly at the hearing, I don't have the capacity to produce maps. I don't have the resources to go parcel by parcel with a scale on a map and do that, I do a lot, but that's not my job. So,
It does do a lot.
I'm not able to do that, nor is it reasonable to request me to do that, and I've said that publicly, repeatedly.
Okay. So,
Typical
Hold on.
engineering and GIS.
yep.
And I've said that, there's a GIS coordinator whose job it is to produce maps.
And that's who did this.
So what did the councilor find out? Because I was in your presence several times when you told them to go to GIS. What did GIS tell you?
I did not go to GIS,
Why not?
because my understanding is that this should be a function of the planning board and the city planner.
The original email went to me and Steve Farm, and I responded, and then publicly, I said that, and privately, publicly, I also said that to you, so I'm not, I can say it again, I don't produce maps. I don't have the capacity to produce maps.
Okay, so we have a motion who's gonna take the restrictions out of industrial 1 and 2, right? Correct? All right, nobody want, right? Yeah, but we're only talking about 1 and 2, taking the residential restrictions away to 0, correct, Brian?
I thought you were talking about deleting that from the definition.
Taking
There's no
residential-
taking it out of
Oh, yeah,
1 and
deleting
2.
residential from the definition, is that correct?
It may or may not be in 1, it may be in 2, it may be outside the industrial zoning district, as Council Matheson said. Those properties aren't in industrial 1, but they're within 500 feet of property within. This reads property used for. So within 500 feet of the property line of a property used for residential use. It doesn't have to be in the district, although it could be in the district.
Yep, I understand. Is that the motion? You done with your comment, Counsel? Okay, so I need a second for Counsel O'Malley. Second? Motion fails.
Yeah, we were discussing whether or not we wanted to bring down the 500-foot limit to something perhaps a little more manageable.
Okay.
200, 250 feet. Yeah, we're just opening it up for discussion at this time.
Whatever you guys
So
want.
like zones that he was talking about there, it wouldn't go there if you had a 200, 250 foot zone that he's saying.
Right, it'd still preclude that upper Washington Street area that I mentioned earlier.
Is that-
At 200 or 250.
Is that residential? Are you recommending taking that 500 that covers all those other facilities?
No, that's
That's residential?
Not the 500 for the
Substance.
schools and substance
Okay.
abuse
So-
and parks.
Okay.
I will make, I have another question about schools. I mean, I know we have public or nonprofit schools.
You
I
talking
don't know if-
daycares?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do we need to qualify schools at all? Why not just say schools? Why say public and nonprofit schools? So if there's a for-profit school, it can set up shop there.
Is a beauty school a for-profit school?
It's a business school.
Is it a driving school?
Yeah, no, excellent
music
point,
school?
excellent point. That's why we're here, right?
No, I mean, that's the problem. That would be too restrictive.
Daycares, you want one.
Well, I think that's why I think you gotta be more, music schools, driving schools, beauty schools. I mean, there's schools, but I don't think that's the intent, or at least,
Well, there were two different categories. There were public schools and nonprofit schools in the zoning, so that's where those titles
what is a
came from.
daycare
I mean,
considered?
there could
The
be,
daycare's in here. It's a separate use category.
Because of the state, right?
Daycare. Well, no, because this is daycare. That's a separate
state-
use.
It was a included item in the recommendation.
Okay.
But business schools are different. That wasn't included.
So is there a motion for 200, 250 on that, or?
On residential.
I'd like to see how far that brings you all before I actually vote on it. I mean, to Councilor O'Malley's point, it is helpful to have this on the map. I wish
We've had
wish he-
ages to get
I
that.
know.
And all we're doing is trying to protect ourselves.
Well, the problem is gonna be, here's the only issue, and I agree, Councilman. But we gotta say, if we think it's,
Your idea was good.
we probably gotta go,
I want to see the state law, I'm gonna ask
we
that.
probably have to go to GIS and say, show us a map with 250, 507, because if you only say it once, you get the map, and say, well, what's 200? And then you gotta go
Right.
back and get the map again.
Yep.
You will also need to request him to put all the land use
Yeah.
categories
Yeah.
on the map,
Correct,
because it's not gonna show you how the property's being used.
correct. Council Ken?
I got an idea. We could vote on the moratorium and then we have plenty of time to work on all this stuff.
Excellent point.
You wanna make the motion?
I can't.
I'll make the motion to table this paper so we can move on to the moratorium.
Can we take it from the table if the moratorium fails?
See why not?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
How long is this moratorium gonna be?
A year.
Well,
Supposedly they
well,
can't come in
let's-
till July next year anyway.
What's your objection with the moratorium, Councilor?
I just feel like that's just too long, we're kicking the can. If you told me 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, then it forces our hand in this committee to move forward with what we want.
Understand
If it's a
something,
year,
though.
then we have to have public, what else do we have to have with a moratorium?
We already have it.
We have.
We already had the public hearing, you were there.
I thought we had to have. Do I have to be so rude?
No,
Listen, it was so- it's so late.
I know,
It's
but
so
I
late.
don't need it.
It's so late, I
I'm
haven't,
agonizing over how to
No, I know, I
retrofit this
agree.
into
But
Malden.
if the state's
Don't need
telling
it.
the truth, they can't put anything in until
I
next
understand,
July
I have
anyway.
those
So
dates.
if we put a 1-year moratorium in, it's next June.
Yeah, it doesn't prevent, and it's not prejudicial to anyone who wants
But
to open up an
if
establishment.
somehow they jack it up at some time, it gives us time to put the right things in place. God knows it took us long enough just to get here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I would only say that
Thank
you see how difficult it is to come up with the zoning question, you know?
well, my question would be, and this is part of the discussion, if you don't mind. Michelle, this is a question for you. Council O'Malley made a point, I think it was 2 meetings ago, Council O'Malley, when you said do an overlay with inside, I keep on saying the Route 1 area, right?
I just said.
Or create a whole new zoning
I
area,
just-
right?
Well, I just said you should include highway business.
Okay. How long would that take if you also mentioned the creating a new zone, right?
No, we didn't talk about that, yeah?
It was your idea,
Yep.
which was good. My question is,
Yeah.
was it your idea?
No, I thought it was his idea.
It was his idea.
It was your idea?
Oh, no, I don't know. Look, at different times, different things.
But
were
can we
said.
do that under the current?
I definitely
paper?
embrace the idea of a new zone. Councilor
The one
Melly had a
that was
great idea
committed.
about Route 1.
The moratorium or the other?
The paper that went,
The
not
one that we're
moratorium.
currently talking about, the use regulations,
Can I
no.
answer the question I was asked? by
No,
the
you may,
judges?
you can add zones.
You asked me a question.
Let me just pass.
The question was, is it changing paper?
So regarding the zoning, I had suggested that we include highway business, considering the fact that Route 1 is highway business. There was discussion about making a new zone. I thought it was funny that highway business happens to be green on the zoning map. I think that's where this other zone came from. I don't think I proposed making a new zone. I just laughed at the fact that highway business happens to be green.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make that motion. I'd like to make that motion that we lay this on the table. For now, we can take it up at any time, including this meeting, for the purpose of taking up the moratorium.
Second.
Okay, so on Council Mathers' motion to table this discussion, seconded by Council Mathers, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Tabled. Now, what, you wanna go to the moratorium paper?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful to our process.
So so that would be paper 248-17. This would be order the city of Malden commence with a 12-month moratorium on permitting any recreational marijuana retail established to afford voters to the opportunity to determine the number of establishments and afford the city time to designate an appropriate zoning district for those establishments. Can I just ask a point of information too before? I've never seen Steve Farmer produce the maps. Is it something he can do on the fly, or does it take some time?
I would suggest that you let the city engineer and GIS work together on this because you wanna make sure that all your plot, your plot lines are correct
Yeah.
and verify, the city engineer will be able to verify that the map is.
So when they do it, is it done from a specific machine, or is it web-based?
It's web-based technology, but
So could he do it here if we said, show us 500 feet, and
I
then
don't
we
think
say?
he could give you a certified map here. He'd have to do that. in the-
No, what I'm saying.
I would recommend he come to the committee
Yeah.
and you specifically tell him exactly what you want to see on the map, and then he will produce the map. That's,
No, I know, once the map's established, but how hard is it to go say, once the map is established, right? How hard is it for him to say, I wanna see 250, now 500, now 100?
you should ask him for all the.
Okay. You know what I'm saying?
maps.
Because I think if everybody's gonna say we should go 0 here and 50 here, there's gonna probably be 4 versions, and I don't wanna have 4 different meetings to get the map to come to us.
You
So
should
maybe-
ask him directly for what you want, and I'm sure he'll be able to produce it. If not on one map, showing different
Multiple
colors on multiple maps.
Okay.
Or he may even do transparency.
But the reason I would suggest he come here is there's a lot of ideas about what you want to see on the map, and I don't think it's been, very clear.
Okay.
I don't think
So Council Matheson, I believe is no motion, you have the floor.
Yeah, I would only say that, for those who have questions about the moratorium, I completely respect your point of view. We heard from members of the public, when the planning board, joint planning board and ordinance met. They made some really excellent points. Some of those members are here right now. But this has nothing to do with the merits of commercial retail sale of marijuana. It merely has to do with giving us a belt and suspenders type protection. If you're unfamiliar with the expression, if your belt breaks, your pants don't fall down if you're still wearing suspenders, right? So applications aren't even available for a retail sale license of marijuana until April 1st, 2018. The first day they would be able to open would be July 1st, 2018. This 12-month moratorium would only guarantee that nothing would be permitted to open in the city limits until we have sufficient time to determine the time, place, and manner of recreational marijuana retail sales. And operations, because operations also include growing.
So, Councilor Di Maria, you have the floor.
Are you all set?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any way that you would entertain a 6-month moratorium and if we need to extend it, we could extend it, but I think that if we tighten our timeline, we're gonna be more apt to keep talking about this and doing what's right for Malden. So I would love to make that amendment, to your motion.
You're still hedged by the state.
Oh. You don't know
So
what
I'm
they're
looking
gonna
for a
do.
second, or am I?
I can't second from the chair.
Okay. Okay.
I personally like the idea of a 12-month moratorium, that's why I sponsored the paper. I'm sorry, Councilor DeMaria, I see your point.
Can't support 12 months.
Well, you're not having marijuana retail shops within the next 12 months anyway,
I
regardless of your.
understand that, but I just feel like, again, if we tighten our belt, you know, we're not gonna just put other things forward and say, oh, yeah, we do have to talk about it, but that's the way I work, so.
You also Council DeMaria?
No,
There's no second, I can't
no,
second
okay.
now.
Well,
All right, but I do want one
I
more.
don't think it fails yet, the motion's still out there. I just would like to make some comments on the motion.
Yeah,
On my motion, my
Oh,
amendment,
your
okay,
amendment.
all right,
You done?
yes.
Oh, so you're the full, Councilman Manley.
So as we said, the moratorium is redundant. I think one of the things that we haven't determined is what is the time frame in which the moratorium would start. Was it the date that it was referred to the planning board? Was it the date the planning board approved it? Was it the date that we approved it finally? I don't think we determined that at the planning board.
Time of advertising, right?
If this ordinance were passed, it is effective the date that you ordain it. The question that came up at the hearing was when it would expire. So that is what, the planning board made a recommendation that you amended to include an additional provision to specify the expiration date of the moratorium. The hearing notice publication date is a different trigger date. That's a different question. So that's a different issue.
So obviously, we just recessed in a peculiar fashion. We will not be, we will not be talking about this until September. So I guess the 9-month period will start in September then. So in that case, the 12-month period would not start until September if we pass it then. Or we could wait until July 2018 and then pass it. Because I don't know, does this have to be acted upon within a certain
It
amount
has
of
to
time?
be, the
90
final date
days.
of action is September 12th,
Which means
2017.
the first meeting in September.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can second your, I mean, I'm not support, I probably won't support your moratorium in the end, but I'll second your motion for a 6-month moratorium. I don't think we have to vote necessarily, but I'll second your motion for a 6-month.
So I'm clear, when is the moratorium gonna start in September, because we can't go back to full council?
No, the paper only reads, commence a 12-month moratorium.
When does it start?
You-
Council passage.
So not till
Well,
September?
this would, right, reading that, but I think there was some question about that, which is why we requested that you, recommended you specify an expiration date.
So if it starts in September, it's a year, it goes to September.
If,
right?
I would say that, but I think it's better to specify the expiration date in the paper.
Can I specify the expiration date rather than a monthly period?
That's another amendment.
If you like, can I make an amendment? Can it expire on April 20th,
Hold on.
2018?
So I'm not gonna even ask why.
It's lost from the council.
Forget it, don't worry about it, council. Don't look at me, council, I'm not saying a word.
When we have more time on.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, so can we have a vote on the paper?
So council, so this would be, your motion would be to extend it so it goes September, technically, till, September, October, November, December, would that be, May?
March.
What do we got, 6 months?
March.
I think we should do one more month.
It's February, right?
7.
February. What was the April 20th? What's it on?
420.
420.
In all fairness,
Google.
I'm sorry, I don't get it.
Reference to marijuana.
All right already,
I
I
don't
didn't know
I
that.
don't get it either.
Thank you.
I guess you had to be a doer.
So
Okay.
she has a second, so when, what if an expiration date?
Okay, so the expiration date for a 12-month moratorium is what?
Well, in this case, it
So
was
now,
September.
so now it's a third motion, is that what we're doing?
She's still yours, you got a second.
Oh my
Wait,
God.
wait, wait.
It's still yours.
I second
So
it.
you said a 6 month.
So 6
You're saying a
months.
6
Yours
month.
is February.
Yours is February.
Correct. Okay, so. February. I'm doing weird dates.
Yeah, probably next March.
Okay. March
June
1st.
30th.
June 30th is when it is.
It's less than a year. We're not gonna pass it. We're not gonna pass it this time.
Well,
That's the problem, right?
why don't we leave that to the full council?
No. You said something out there.
You can extend it longer.
So you gave me a second, so we have 2 motions on the table.
All right, so 6
Okay?
months, March 1st. Councilor Di Maria's motion, second by
But
Council.
I think John's was first.
You get the notice. It was,
Did I make a motion?
oh, you did
You
it,
made a motion for 12 months.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the
So his is
paper.
first.
I don't think that's really a motion, it's the paper.
Yeah.
And this is a motion to amend it.
Oh, okay.
Do you wanna go 6 months?
Yes, I do. I mean, I gotta, we gotta get on this.
Oh, yeah, in operation.
I'll vote this.
Right.
All right, you ready? Councilor Di Maria's motion, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. Clerk will call the roll.
Matheson? No. Kennan?
No.
No. O'Malley?
Yes.
Spatafora?
Yes.
Di Maria?
Yes.
Passes.
Yes.
Now it's gonna go to full council. And the end date is March 1st.
Got it.
You have a motion? You wanna do the yes?
Motion to refer to the full council.
You wanna do the yeah?
Well, we already took a vote, I think we know how that's going.
We amended it.
You amended it, but you didn't make a recommendation to pass the paper yet, did you?
He just,
That's what
No,
this was amended.
oh, but before I do, I want to make a motion to amend to include operations as well as sales, right? The original paper only mentioned sales, but as I stated earlier, operations, a lot of the discussion is around operations, it includes growing and packaging and marketing and distribution, all that.
and Michelle, I should know this, but when we hopefully get an ordinance in place besides the zoning material, right? I read a lot of reference on, they've separated the amount of square footage of retail sales that you manufacture in the back, right? They also, some cities and towns have said, security provisions, they want, cameras and, because when we do that with some of our extended licenses, that would go in this ordinance as well, right?
It could go in the zoning ordinance, it could go in your licensing ordinance, it could go in a board of health regulation.
Could be part of the
It could go in when it comes before the special
All right.
permit granting authority. If you know you want it in, I would recommend you put it in the definition now, so that whoever is granting whatever zoning or license doesn't have to remember, these are the criteria we want to include.
Yeah, I don't have enough, I mean, I know I want security because everything I've read, but I don't know square footage and manufacturing. No, I'm not ready, I can't make that.
Their baseline security
Yeah.
requirements in the state law, so it's covered to a degree. It may not be
What we
the
want.
full
To
consideration,
get
but
that, I
there'll be time
voted
to
no.
consider it in this.
They would still, they would still have to enter into an agreement with the city.
Yeah,
That
we
would be
can,
my motion, I voted no.
All right, so I made that motion to amend to include operations.
okay, so in council, do everybody understand? So we're separating the retail sales tax from operations, so, putting, including.
Including operations with
So,
sales.
on Council Mathis's motion to amend the definition to include retail sales and operations. Need a second? Council McKinnon, seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Everybody got that in mind anyways.
All opposed? No opposers, so it passes unanimously.
Motion referring to full council?
Council,
Second.
Without recommendation.
We mean without.
well, you know,
Well, I mean, we have the 6
recommended.
you
months.
just did,
so-
3-2.
No, but it was changed to 6 months, so,
Yeah, but that's the vote.
Well, one of you can make that motion. Make them
So
such.
we make a
Yeah, who's voting for it?
recommendation to report it out favorably as amended by the ordinance committee.
I'll second that.
With a vote, 3-2,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's not unanimous,
Favorable.
we
I don't have to
report
be
it out
in
as
that.
is.
Voting
I'm not gonna repeat it, so you can't, you
Might as well
got,
be
you got that, seconded by Council King, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Any opposition? Okay, it comes out favorable. Yes, Council.
So, could I just ask Director Webb and maybe, Michelle Romero, and while I totally believe you that it has to be a standalone, business, is there any way we have some sort of state, legislature that says that? Because to me, it would just, it fits perfectly in a liquor store. So I know you're telling me the truth, but can we get language?
I anticipate that the final version of the state
July
law
1st.
will address that issue. If it doesn't, we still have the other ordinance committee meetings to address it, or special permitting. So, you'll have many options here, so I wouldn't feel that you're giving up anything right now.
Right.
Okay?
But when you do get it, or if we
As
get it,
soon as it
whoever
comes off
gets
the
it,
presses, I'm
could you
sure.
share it
Well, I have
with
some
us?
good news to share with you. They have to do this by July 1st, I believe, in the state.
Okay.
I will schedule a meeting in July, okay? I'm probably gonna have more than one in July. So what the plan,
And we look forward to it.
what the plan is for the ordinance committee with this particular, I'm gonna ask that, everybody gives me a list of, considerations. We're gonna invite, well, I think we need to have the map with the use that Council Malley has said that he wants to have.
I will reach out to Steve Fowler.
Well, why don't we send it to me, right? And then we'll send it out as one package, so we do it all at once, to Steve Farmer. Then we're gonna invite him here, as well as Michelle Romero, if the planning board, Jim wants to come, as well as, the entire council and then Director Webb. And then we can start looking at the zone plotting through that, and hopefully come up with, a zoning requirement.
But if we don't have to do that, and if the state allows it, we have 10 liquor stores that it would retrofit into there. And they're liquor stores, so it's the same, oh my God, it's bad, so it's, so they,
This iteration
so
of
they
the bill, I don't
say,
think
It's never gonna happen.
No, not in this iteration. 15 years from now, that
Yeah.
may very likely be the case.
All right, so we're not done yet. Ordinance committee, we're not done yet. Believe me, we're not done.
You got all my papers in there?
thank you.
Yours? Yes.
Any,
No, that doesn't mean, no. We're talking about all the
we
ordinance
have?
ones? Yeah. No, I'm gonna do the next one. I promise.
Mr. Chairman, what else is